back to Authentic as Fuck with Red&J. We are back. We took a little bit of a break. We needed a couple weeks just to do life, and things were busy, and we just couldn't find the time to get together and do a proper episode. So we did what we had to do, but we're back, and what we're going to talk about today is something that we talk about quite often, actually, every month. Is kind of like the symptoms and things that we go through as women and with our cycles and leading up to it, and just all kinds of things that I feel like is very common. I mean, between both of us. But I think it's pretty common for a lot of women. Like I always hear women talking about like Shark Week or
and like we rely on each other. Like I have an app, but like also she'll
Oh my
message me
God.
like, when did I have my period last week? And I'll be like, well, we were talking about this on this day, and I'm pretty sure that. And she's like, oh yeah, I did have it this week.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
You know, we rely on our
Nikki
closest.
is my tracking app for my cycle.
Right.
You have been for quite a couple
I have.
Years. Like I think pretty much since I met you.
I like make a mental note almost now, like of a marker, so that when she asks, I'd be like, "Oh, was this time that we were doing this?"
Yeah. Or a lot of times I'll just search our messages, period, and then I'll look through. There's like how many matched messages.
Right.
We talk about a lot, so.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times men don't really think, besides the fact that, oh, they're bitches right now. They must have their period.
Yeah.
But like we have to time everything. We have to schedule around their period, like vacations and things of that nature, because like not every woman wears tampons.
True.
Like I don't. I never have. It's never been. I tried once when I was doing like a spa, and I was like, oh my God, I had my period. And it wasn't for me. I feel like they don't fit me right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just never did. But we literally have to plan our whole lives usually around periods.
Yeah.
When we can go on vacation, when we can have sex, when we can plan date nights, or like.
You don't want to waste certain things when you have your period, because then you can't maybe, do all the things that you want to do.
Exactly. And feel your best, because hell.
Yeah, sometimes you're not feeling the best, for sure. Right. Like I typically don't get a lot of like cramping. Usually it would be like day 1 or day 2. Mm-hmm. But it's never been like, I know some women have it like where they're crippled over in pain.
Right.
I know, some people have been to the hospital because they're in so much pain from it. Me, I'm pretty lucky. It's just kind of more of like an achy feeling. Mm-hmm. And it's only usually for like a couple days and it's totally gone.
Yeah. And for me, I would say, and probably as I'm getting older too, once I have my period, I have no pain, no symptoms, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's everything leading up, like the week before, everything. Chills, bloated, my legs kill, my lower back kills. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to vomit because it's like, and I feel like, you feel like it's like a nozzle, like your body's trying to force this period out, mm-hmm. but it has to go through all this stuff for it. And I'm always just like, just start, just fucking start. Because then once it starts, everything's alleviated.
Gone. Yeah.
But it's like so much, like legit. And some of it might be perimenopause, which is a whole different topic, but like symptoms are real. And this is what we're discussing.
I know where you're going.
Men say we're bitches, and we totally are, but it's not like we don't have a choice, men. Like it really,
okay. And so this is kind of where we talk about it a lot, is for me and for you, it's leading up to.
Oh yeah.
So probably I would say 5 to 7 days beforehand, I will notice like that things just irritate me more, mm-hmm. or my emotions are definitely heightened.
Yes.
And whether that be like you know, angry and upset or super emotional and sad. Not so much happy. Like I feel like I'm pretty level with my happiness on a daily basis.
Yes.
But there's always like 1 or 2 days leading up to my period where I'm either really sad and depressed and like it just feels super off, or like I'm angry.
Yes.
I'm angry. I'm angry. And those are the days where I'm like, oh shit, Nikki, I almost sent this text.
Like, don't do
You're
it.
like, don't do it. It's your period. And I'm like, I know, but it's so hard.
But I do that too.
Yes.
And I will say it every month, even in my head.
I know,
you
like, know,
yes,
you know why.
Like, oh my God. Okay. Don't react. Don't start any shit. It's your hormones. It'll be okay. I fucking start shit.
Every time.
Every
You're
time.
like, don't do it, but you do it.
And then I'm like, oh man, fuck. And I'm mad. And then the next day, I don't know if you get the same thing, but the next day then I'm like, oh shit, I don't care. I don't care about anything. I don't care about anyone. I just fuck this, fuck that, fuck that. And then the next day, I'm like, oh my God, I am so stupid. I'm totally fine. Everything's chill.
Yeah.
But it felt real at the time. You can't avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard to rein it in. Oh. But you do, like, for me, I like when I'm going through that feeling and I'm like, okay, Jenna, you know, your period's coming. You're super hormonal right now. Like it's extra, like those things, whatever it is that's bothering me. Yeah, it's bothering me clearly, but to the level of which it's bothering me, no.
Right.
Because really, like, I'm pretty good at just like, you know.
Yeah.
And if something is really bothering me, I would just talk to whoever it is that I have an issue with or whatever, you know, I would vent it out to you, like what's going on. But yeah, just my reaction might be a little bit more aggressive.
A little more spicy.
a little spicier on the delivery. So yeah, I've really tried to realize that and kind of bring it down a little bit, which I think I've done a pretty good job.
You've been doing good. Sometimes I just can't.
That's the Scorpio in you.
Yeah, it's like shit. But it's like, I think when you suppress things all like the whole rest of the month, and you're like, okay, I gotta just let things go, be cool, and you can do that when your hormones are kind of level. But then when they heighten, you're like, I just fucking want to let this out. You know what I mean? And it's bad.
Well, but that's the thing too. Like, I think we're pretty level-headed people in general. So, and we're pretty positive in our like attitude, our daily attitude in our life. And, you know, we always try to find the best in situations. Yes. So I feel like it's super normal to have days like you don't have good days all the time, right? Like it's super normal for us to go through these days, and then, you know, your hormones just add to it. But
and I always have a cry day, but you know, I never feel bad about that. I let myself like cry, even if I don't really know what it's about. Yeah, I just feel it and know that it will move on from it. But I feel like the body needs that. Yeah. And I know we've talked about this before with men. I feel like that's sometimes why men feel stressed and trapped, is because they don't let out that stuff enough. So for that, I am thankful that happens usually once a month, like a good cry.
Yeah, for sure. But, what else though? Like I feel like that's something that men need to know. That sometimes
we're not trying to be a bitch. It's just, and usually sometimes the feeling is closest to us. Like I don't know about you, but when I have those days, I'm not just going to random people and being like an ass. No, it's probably like my man probably gets the most, or like
the people you're comfortable with.
Yeah, my kids. You know,
you trust that they're not going to hate you after you.
Right.
Right. You got to take the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like that's probably like the biggest one that, like, I know that that's what it's from and I can kind of control it, but kind of not. The other ones, they're not really controllable, like cramping, any of that kind of stuff. The low back pain. So I wasn't even thinking about that. And the other day, it was the last time I was like, oh, I don't know why my low back hurts. And you said something about period. And I was just like, oh my God, yes. Because it was like a couple days before. And I'm like, why is my back hurting? I couldn't even think about why. I was like, oh shit, maybe I did something at the gym. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But
period.
That's what it was for sure.
Yeah, and I had an ablation 3 years ago.
Yeah.
For if men don't know what that is, it's like it's laser on your uterine lining. Basically, they shred it or shed it.
Yeah.
So that you really, a lot of women don't even get periods after they have it. I'm like one of the small numbers that still get one.
Yeah.
But it's super, super, super light. So if any woman's thinking about it, if you have like a lot of symptoms of like progressive spotting as you're going through perimenopause, and then like a lot of clotting or whatever, and it's just a nuisance to you, it's literally a day surgery. I walked out of there fine, walked to the pharmacy with my mom, didn't take any pain pill. Like it was fine.
Yeah.
Crampy, but we're all used to cramps.
Oh yeah.
But it's considerably lighter now. I still get like a lot of symptoms, but it's definitely a thing to do if someone's having like problems.
Yeah.
Like I had endometriosis, which is like those cells, they start to go to other parts of your organs.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was like it can affect you. So then you have problems on sometimes like your bowels or your stomach lining, these cells. So I was just like, let's just
get it done.
Yeah. Because endometriosis is like rough for some women too.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I'm approaching the years. Like I don't want to get old, but I'm glad I'm approaching the years that
eventually you won't have a period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like I've been really lucky with like my menstrual health over the years. Like I've always had a pretty normal period. I've never really had any issues. The only issues I did have was with IUDs and having them taken out, or so like after my last IUD, I didn't decide to go back on birth control because I wanted to let my body kind of get back to like a normal thing after having kids. And I haven't been on any birth control for like 2.5 years, something like that.
So that's interesting because that's like not that long.
It's not that long, but I feel like my period has regulated. Yeah. It's pretty on point. Like it's now after, so it was like every 24 days, 28 days before my prep. After my prep, it's every 21 days.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which is like you're so young, but it could be a really early start of perimenopause.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's how mine kind of started too, and you're young.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only thing that you might see is that you get it more often, or
like every 21 days. That's fine. At least I know like when it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then it's pretty short. Like I have 2 days where it's like pretty heavy, and then 2 days of like spotting, and then it's gone.
That's good.
So I mean, as much as it sucks having it every 3 weeks, at least it's only 4 days, and then
it's consistent.
And it's consistent. Like
yeah.
So that's good.
That's always good.
Yeah.
And like I've been off birth control pill since I was like, so I was on the mini pill when I got pregnant with my oldest son. When I was like 23, and after that, we just kept having kids. Like, well, I think between the two, there was like, how many years? Like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
I think we just pulled out and hoped it worked. And it seemed to work. And then the funny thing is when we actually tried to start for Shantae, she's the only one that we were like, actually like, okay, let's try. It took like a year.
Oh, really?
To get pregnant with Shantae. And then Javon was pull-out method on Valentine's Day, which he didn't do his job. And that's all it took. But it's been a long many like years. So I'm just saying like it's interesting to see that you've been off for 2.5 years and it regulates that quick.
Yeah.
And that you're like, it's probably better that you're not on it, because as you get older and age, like
Yeah.
risk of clots.
Like I just want to like have like my hormones as balanced as possible naturally without, I mean, obviously like as time goes on and you start to go through perimenopause and menopause eventually, like sometimes you need to do hormone replacement therapy or whatever, but honestly, like I haven't even really done any research about it because it's never like I've never had any issues. So
yeah, that's good.
yeah, I consider myself very, very blessed in that situation. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else? Any other symptoms you get? Anything weird or?
There's always a day where I'm like, okay, I really want like something
The
salty, and I need
food.
to have some
Yes.
chocolate. It's just, but I
Oh my
don't go
God.
overboard. Like
No.
I'll eat it, and even though like we're on plan or whatever, I'm like, I just have to, and I'll eat it, and then I feel like, okay, this is what I need, and then the next day I'm just back on my shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't feel bad because I know there's no stopping that.
Yeah.
Like it gets to a point where you're just like, this needs to be craved.
And
like,
it's so funny because usually, like, I feel like I've come up with a pretty good alternative to sweets in my plan. But it's the salty.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it'll be, you know, like we're having a movie night with the kids or whatever. And yeah, I need chips or popcorn or something salty.
And the bloat's real. And the bloat is, I don't know if this is the same for you, but
yeah.
And other women, even at ovulation time, I bloat. And I'm like, bitch, I just had my period. Like, why am I bloating again?
No,
but I am.
Okay. And so we were testing this theory with like our weight loss and everything.
Yes.
And so when I was going through prep, I weigh myself every single day. And there was always 2 times a month. For sure, I knew without a doubt that my weight was going to increase.
Yep.
And then a couple days later, it would drop back down.
Yep.
And that was always, it was
ovulation.
like a few days before my period starts. And then it would drop like day 3 of my period. And then the ovulation.
Yep. Totally.
And yeah. And then we tested that with you as well. And it was the same
My body always does that.
Yeah.
And that's why I would never, I used to psychologically be like, oh my God, I worked so hard this week and I gained weight. But then now I know, I'm like, no, it's ovulation. No, it's my period.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women get caught up in not thinking about those things when they're weighing themselves. If you're like, you know, trying to do some sort of weight loss or goals or whatever. And it can be so like depressing or like throw you way off if you're not thinking like, oh, you know, I'm getting close to my period, or it may be this time of the month. Like,
yeah, it is a mind fuck, and I'm just really glad to be in a place in life where it's like the scale doesn't really matter to me as much. It's a good guide.
Yeah. That's it. It's a guide. Yeah,
but to me, it's like I know all these things for women happen, and I know what I'm doing, and I know my clothes feel better. I know I'm recomping more than maybe I'm not losing a ton of weight, but I'm recomping.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But
and
it used to be
totally just a guide. And you got to think too, like some days you put on the same clothes that felt good and now they don't, but it's because you're bloated and you're like, ugh. Like there's been many times where I'll like put something on and be like, oh my God, like what the heck?
Okay, here's an interesting thing. I'll ask you too, because I do this a couple days before my period. Yeah, when I'm bloated or whatever or stuff, I'll look in the mirror and be like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? I'm working so hard. I look awful. I feel this or that or whatever. And then the couple days after your period, then you kind of go down again, and then you put something on. You're like, oh, I kind of look cute.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like your mind plays tricks on you.
And I was actually talking about that exact thing with a girl at the gym the other day.
Yeah.
And she said the same thing. She's like, oh yeah, you know, I haven't worn my crop top in a while. And she's like, maybe I'll put it on the week after my period. I'm like, exactly. So, that's the time.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention too, actually, about periods and physical activity. I don't know if you find this. I've asked so many girls though, because I'm super curious. Do you find that you feel stronger or weaker?
I feel while you stronger when I have my period.
Same. Yeah. It's the most bizarre. And I've had so many girls say that the opposite. They feel weaker. But every time I have my period, I'm like super excited to go work out because I feel like, and I can lift so much more.
Of course. I wonder if it has to do with personality and how people deal.
It could be.
You know what I mean? Like your hormone, because some people might be like, oh, like I'm not putting anyone down. I'm just saying like they could be like, oh, I just really want to go lie down, or I'm trying to get through this or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we might have the mentality of like, oh, I'm pissed, I'm whatever, I'm gonna push, and like it's almost like a therapeutic thing, right?
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, and I've always found this actually, like while I have my period, if I was having cramping, physical activity like going for a walk or being physically active in whatever way actually makes it feel so much better.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so maybe like it has something to do with that, like because I know that for myself that it makes me feel better. I'm like more go get it.
Yeah.
Like
but I definitely know what you're saying. I feel the same way. I'll have some of my best workouts when I have my
same.
period.
Yeah. Like leg days. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a good leg day. I got my period. Other people are like, what the fuck? I just want to go lay down. But yeah.
And then you have like and we don't have to discuss like personal stuff like that, but then you'll have the men.
Yeah.
That would, like, let's say you're married, long term, whatever, and some of your men will like totally, okay, we're just still having sex, like, you know what I mean? Like, then they have no qualms about it. And then there's the men that are like, stay the fuck away from me, because it grosses them out, and they like blood and all that, like,
which I get, like to each their own.
Each your own. I'm just saying, but it is
it's thing interesting, where
there's a dynamic where you have either spectrum. And I don't know about you, but personally, I'm like, not that I've ever had that a lot. I would say one partner that I was with when I was younger, that for a while had no problems with it. Yeah, I kind of liked it. Like,
okay, so I will say, that I find that I get really horny when I have my period,
too. And it's like,
and I'm like,
it feels.
Come on, let's go.
It feels good.
Now's the time. But yeah, like some people are for it. Some people are like, hell,
and I'm cool with that too. Like, if you don't, that's not your thing, that's totally fine.
And that being said, there's other things you can do.
Oh yeah.
You can make it happen regardless. Exactly. But yeah, no, it is interesting that you say that, because yes, some people are like, nah, wouldn't touch it. Others, let's go. Oh man. But anyways, I don't know if there's anything else really that I can think of about it. What do you guys experience? Like, I feel like we're pretty similar in what we go through, but you know, I've heard other people like really have a hard time with their periods, or I'm pretty sure like the emotional shit though is pretty universal. Yeah.
So like, I feel for all women.
Yeah.
We get it.
And men.
Yeah, we do feel for the men too.
Like, we feel for you, but also just consider that maybe she's not trying to come at you.
If she's long term in your life, and you know it's like 3.5 weeks or so, or 3 weeks, whatever, around that time, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't fuck around too much and piss her off.
Or if she does freak out, maybe think, hey, I wonder if. Yeah.
Most of the time.
And don't take it so personally. Sometimes you're our safe place and we need to vent it to you. Yeah. But yes, comment. Let us know like what you guys go through. Men, let us know if we've enlightened you to some of the things. And hopefully it helps you in some way. Yeah, I don't know. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, definitely let us know. We have a few things on deck that we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks, but we love getting your ideas. And yeah. Anything else, Nikki?
Oh, I'm good. I think in a future episode, it's a little different because she's lucky, she's younger, but I might have to do like maybe my own, but it's like definitely I feel like I'm just realizing that I'm definitely starting to go through like perimenopause. And I feel, because my mom had a hysterectomy, when she was young, that it's like I don't really know a lot. I'm educating myself now and trying to understand exactly what happens. A lot of things like I experienced like night sweats right before my period,
Yeah.
things like that you just kind of start learning. But that's probably a big topic amongst a lot of women
I
that
think
age,
so.
that we feel like it's a community that you really should be able to bounce off each other, because I think a lot of people just don't know until they go through it.
100%. Like there's so many symptoms that I don't even think.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I'm kind of starting a little bit here and there too. Like
They say it's such a long time, which I never knew either. Like I just thought it was kind of like you would all of a sudden stop getting your period.
Yeah.
And then but they say like, oh no, that menopause is if you consistently don't have a period for years straight. But peri can be like 10 years before you ever go into menopause. I was like, oh, that's probably why I was doing all that spotting for so long and this and that. But yeah, so I think that's an interesting topic too someday.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I probably need to be educated on it, so we'll do it up for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, bye everyone. See you next week.